Well, good morning. How's everybody doing? Good. I just want to let you know that I'm Steve Childers. I'm just a member here. I'm just like you. I have to sit out there, and somehow I got roped into this, so we'll see how it goes. Now, I'll tell you what happened. This is really what happened. Mark needed somebody to come in relief, so they called for the bullpen, got the righty, so here I am. So, yeah. Got to stick with baseball. So, yeah, Steve Childers, been a member of this church. My wife and I, my family have been members of this church since literally the first day this building opened. So it's been a long time. They haven't kicked us out yet, so maybe after today they may have a board meeting to decide. So, but welcome. Thanks for coming. This is the last part of the Play Ball series. It's Put Me in, Coach. Mark asked me to speak today, and I'm a teacher and I'm a coach, and I just tell stories. And I'm not a preacher, I tell stories. So let me kind of get started. Why I love baseball and why I have so much involvement in baseball, and it goes all the way back to this guy right here. If you could put the first picture, this is my dad. My dad, this is his senior year in high school. He played high school ball, 4 years starter on varsity. His junior and senior year, he started center field. He played 42 games his junior and senior year combined. He had a hitting streak of 42 games. Pretty impressive. His senior year, and this is a senior year picture, he batted .476. He led the team in triples, led the team in doubles, led the team in sack bunts. He's old school. You better know how to bunt when you play baseball if you talk to my dad. And so he was a very effective baseball player. What's amazing to me, and I know this, he's blind in his right eye. So imagine seeing a fastball coming across the plate, one eye. No perspective. Catching a fly ball, one eye, no perspective. He wore glasses, which helped a little, but he never wore them during the game. He just refused to wear glasses. When he graduated high school, he had offers to play for some colleges, get some scholarships. One of them was that god-awful Orange team up in Tennessee, and he was not going to go there. He actually turned them all down. And the reason he turned them down is when he was starting, just before he started his high school year, I think it was the summer before his 9th grade year, he went to a revival in his small little town he lived in. And at the revival, at the end of the revival, he came up for the altar call. He knelt down and he gave his life to Christ. Not only that, he said he heard God speak to him. And he heard God tell him, "You're going into ministry." And he went, okay. And that's how it was. He played high school basketball for 5 years because they let 8th graders play. And he played baseball for 4 years. He's a very good athlete, very good baseball player. And he loved the game, but he loved Jesus more. So he turned that all down, and he went to seminary, he went to college, he went to seminary, graduated with a degree in divinity, and he became a pastor. He pastored for 47 years. My dad passed away about a month and a half ago, and Dad and I were baseball guys. We constantly talked baseball. When I was about 4 years old, he tossed me this mitt right here. He said, "Let's go out and have a catch." This is my Mickey Mantle Model 4 glove right here. My dad used this in high school his senior year. Remember I said he was a center fielder. This was a center field mitt. I periodically put it on just because it makes me remember my dad. I'll get emotional, sorry. But we go out and we toss with this. He cut out a piece of wood, painted it white, made home plate. He made first, second, and third, took canvas and stapled it on. He taught me how to run the bases, taught me how to swing, taught me how to catch, taught me how to throw. I loved baseball. I loved baseball. When I was 5 years old in 1966, we went to the opening game at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. He and I sat in the stands, in the cheap seats out in the outfield because that's where pastors could afford the cheap seats. And we sat out there and we watched the Braves play the Pittsburgh Pirates. I became a fan of 3 players then. One of them was Philippe Alou. He led off for the Braves. Philippe Alou was just amazing to me. He was so fast. He'd get on base. He put the ball on the ground and he can go. Second one, and it's no surprise if you're a Braves fan as long as I've been, was Hank Aaron. I loved Hank Aaron so much that I ran a 5K just so I can meet Hank Aaron because he sponsored a Run for Literacy once. And I carried a baseball in one pocket of my running breeches and a pen in the other, so at the end, when I cross the finish line, I can get him to sign my baseball. And the other one was Joe Torre. Joe Torre, I saw him hit 2 home runs opening day in Fulton County, Atlanta Stadium. I love baseball because of my dad, and we would talk constantly we would argue sometimes. We would argue about who was the best player, who was the worst player. But we had some common. Our common was we hated the Yankees, period. And I'll tell you why I hated the Yankees, because my dad did. My dad became a Milwaukee Braves fan before they moved to Atlanta, before he even knew they moved to Atlanta, because every Thursday was Thursday night baseball, and national radio, he didn't have a TV. National radio, there would be a baseball game, and it was always the Yankees playing somebody. And Dad despised the Yankees because he wanted to listen to every team. Well, on his little radio in his bedroom, he could pick up a Milwaukee station every once in a while and listen to the Milwaukee Braves. And he became a Braves fan before they were in Atlanta. And so when they moved to Atlanta, I automatically was a Braves fan with it. And we went on. And I watched and got to see, and we had a little black and white, Dave and I were talking about this, a little black and white TV. And I could see them every once in a while play in Atlanta. And sometimes we might get to go down there, because if you went after the 5th inning, you went at the bottom of the 5th inning, you could get in free at the stadium. In the cheap seats out in the outfield, but you can get in free. And sometimes we would do that. So I watched this baseball, and I watched these guys play, and they were my heroes. In 1969, I was 8 years old. I was able to start playing baseball myself, and I was ready. I mean, I had a dad who could play, and I was ready to go. And so we show up, and I'm playing at Custer Park. Anybody know where Custer Park is? Anybody heard of Custer Park? It's in Marietta. Right now, it's a big soccer complex, but then it was baseball. And so I got my very first game. I'm playing for the Cubs. Our colors were green. I don't know why, but we were Cubs. My dad was my coach. And for whatever reason, I found out my dad did not read the official Daddy Coach Ball rule book, because I got to sit the bench at the start of the game and watch kids play. And then when it was time for me to go in, he said I had a special task. I got to play right field. It was special to get out there. We'll get to it. We'll get to that. And so I did. And finally, about the 3rd inning, I come up to bat. In fact, I want to show you my Joe DiMaggio bat. This was my bat I had the first year I played. This bat right here. Nice little wooden bat. I could hold it. It's a great bat. It just felt so good. And so I get up to bat, and I stand in the batter's box, and they announce my name over the intercom. Next up to bat, number 10, because that was my dad's high school number. Number 10, Stephen Childers. And the guy announcing, I even know who he was. His name was David Miller. And he told me he was going to make fun of me and call my name wrong or something, but he actually didn't. So I'm in the batter's box. I'm ready to go. I'm ready. And I know if that pitcher, remember, this is kid pitch. They didn't have baseball below 8 years old. They didn't have the little coachy pitch or the T-ball. You had a real hard baseball thrown by an 8-year-old that has no clue where that ball's going. So here comes the ball. I'm ready. And as soon as it comes out of the bat, I said, I've got my Hank Aaron swing ready. I'm there. And I know, because my dad taught me, watch Aaron's wrists, because he never turns his wrist too soon. The timing was always perfect. That's why he was able to hit the ball out and not be a giant, strong guy. He had great wrists. So I'm there, and here comes the ball. It comes out of the pitcher's. It's going over left center. It's already going out. I know, because I know how to make that swing. But the ball starts to tail a little bit inside, and I'm thinking, wait, Philippe Alou was so fast, he could get on top of the ball, hit it down the left side, even in the infield, and run it out, because I'm fast. I'm a fast runner. And I know, here it is, and now I'm just going to go ahead and pull the ball down the line. And bam! Smack in the middle of the back, right between the shoulder blades. Knocked the breath out of me. There was a communal gasp by both stands. Oh! Except for two people. Two people. My dad, third base coach, way to go, son, take your base. Way to take one for the team. Go ahead and run down. I wanted to say, I don't want my base. I don't want it. I couldn't speak. I lost everything. And the other one was my mom. In the bleachers right over here. My mom's this tall. This big around. She weighs about 92 pounds. I'm afraid of her. I'm just going to say this. I love my mom to death, but I'm afraid of her. And she's over in the bleachers go, you're all right. Go ahead. Go on down. You're fine. I found out that day why I had that special task of being in right field. I was an average ball player, if that. I wasn't great like my dad. But I watched the game, I listened to the game, I learned the game because my dad taught me the game. I became a part of that. And this year ends the 38th year I've coached baseball. And most of that, I would say let me add it up, 34. About 34 of those years has been on the high school level. I love teaching the game. I love teaching the game of baseball. And I've been a teacher as well. This is my 36th year teaching. And you think, well, okay, so you've been teaching 36 years, you coach 38. Yeah, I got to coach for 38 years. And I started out coaching in high school. Let me, real quick, I want to read Matthew 28:18 through 20. This is the Great Commission. Okay, well, let me find it. There we go. The Great Commission. Jesus has already died, been in the grave. He's out of the grave. He hangs out with, about 400 people. It's like a bunch of people. It's not just a few disciples. He's met a lot of people since he's raised from the dead. And he's about to ascend into heaven. And he wants to give his final statement. Okay? So Jesus came and told the disciples, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations. He didn't just pick any, all the nations. Baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the last inning. I added that last part. Even to the end of age. End of age, okay? 3 points. I think I have this up here. Do I have the 3 points? Be ready, be determined, and get your sign. Be ready. All right, let's talk about being ready. When I was in college, a buddy of mine, Kenny, and I, we decided, he was in college with us, we decided we wanted to coach baseball. Just wanted to do something. He knew a guy that was in charge of the baseball program at Perry Palm Park. Anybody know where Perry Palm Park is? Okay, it's over near the Civic Center, not too far from Lockheed. And we were like, yeah, let's coach high school kids. Let's coach older kids. It'll be fun. They know what they're doing. Everything will be great. So the guy called Kenny up and said, hey, you guys, we got a team. Come on out. You can help pick your team. So we come on out. Our team was a 5-year-old group. We got to coach 5-year-olds like, all right, we'll do it. No problem. Take 5-year-olds, coach pitch. Rule is kids get 3 pitches. If they don't hit it, you put it on the tee. Then they get to swing and go. So we had kids. Now, of the 38 years I've been coaching baseball, I'm going to say flat out, and my wife knows this, this was the funniest group of kids I have ever coached. Ever. We had a third baseman. We called him Hollywood because he wore the biggest sunglasses in the whole world. I called him Hollywood. His name was Chaz Mason. If you recognize the last name, Babby Mason was a Christian artist. It was her son. I coached her son. And Chaz was so funny. In the middle of one game, he goes, time! He's standing at third base. We had him as a third. He calls time out, and we're like, what? The umpire goes, time! He reached in his back pocket, pulled out chapstick. Play ball! That happened all the time. We had a little girl named Stephanie. The only girl in baseball I've ever coached was Stephanie. Because this park at the time didn't have softball, so she wanted to play. So come on, you're on our team. We picked her. Stephanie, in the 2 weeks we got to practice before the start of the season, never once made contact with the ball when she swung the bat. I mean, I would sit there and try to throw like a dart. She didn't even foul one off. I'm like, okay, you get to bat where I used to bat, way down there somewhere in the lineup. She was so sweet, loved her to death. The kids loved her, the boys did. They thought she was the wonderful ball player and everything. So who cares? We were having a great time. So we get to our first game. She's batting number 10 or 11. Everybody bats. And I think she's number 10 or 11 in the lineup, whatever. She comes up to bat. Well, before the game, Kenny and I decided, okay, we're going to flip a coin to see who would be the coach pitcher that day. It was me. Yeah, okay, so I'm out there. I'm pitching. We're having kids crack the ball, hitting, we're running. Everything's great. Stephanie comes up. About the second or third inning, I think, second inning, because every 2 innings, everybody had to bat at least once. So I don't know however many outs, you make sure the rest of the team bats within 2 innings. She comes up, and I'm sitting there like, okay, I just wanted to say, hold the bat out there. Don't even move it. I'm just going to, Kenny's already picked up the tee. He's ready to come up with it. Stephanie looks at me. She's holding the bat. She points, she says, I'm ready. Pitch that thing. I said, okay, here we go. Bam! No, I didn't hit her in the back. I didn't. She hits a one-hopper off the left field fence for a stand-up triple. She rounds the base, she gets to third, and she's standing there like she's done it 1,000 times. And she goes, told you I was ready. So be ready. Jesus was speaking to his crowd. This is in Luke. Jesus was speaking to a group of people. And he goes to the shores of the lake there, and he's down there, and he sees a couple of boats, and they're parked, they're kind of empty, and then he notices some fishermen were standing around with the nets, working on the nets and everything. And he goes, hey, how was the fishing? Oh, it's terrible. Nothing. We ain't getting anything. He goes, I tell you what, get on back in the boat, throw your nets in there, and go out just a little bit further. And they go like, it's not working. We caught nothing. We've been here all day. He goes, just do it. Just go out there, but don't throw the nets on the right, throw them on the left. All right, and they do. And they get just a pile of fish, so much fish that the boat just about to sink. And the Zebedee brothers, okay, in their boat see this, and Simon Peter, who was the one in the boat, goes, hey, guys, come here, I need your help. We're about to sink. It filled 2 boats up, something they hadn't been able to do. Filled it up. And he's like, you got to always be ready. You got to be ready. You never know when your moment is coming. You got to be ready. And so, just like Stephanie, she was ready. She was ready when she was going to be ready, not when I wanted her to be in practice. So that was it. So be ready. Next is be determined. Be determined. Matthew 14, 25, 31, Peter walks on water. Peter walking on the water. What an amazing thing. I mean, I just can't fathom going, all right, let me just do it. I'm just going to step out right there and walk. Well, the disciples were in the boat, and they were out in the boat. Jesus had gone off. He wasn't with them. He had gone off afterwards, and he was kind of going off, going to pray, going to do his thing. He liked to separate often. So they were on the boat, and they were just kind of getting away from the big crowd. And they get out in the ocean, out in the lake there, and the water's just, the weather's just going crazy. Waves are kicking in, the rain, the wind, and I mean, they're like, we're going to sink. And all of a sudden, one of them looks up and sees this image, literally out in the water walking. They're like, that's a ghost. They actually said they thought it was a ghost. And Jesus goes, hey, don't be afraid, it's me. They went, yeah, but you're on the water, you're walking. How can we not be afraid? He said, it's okay. And Peter, being the kind of guy he was, said, well, then let me walk out there. Call me out. And Jesus said, well, come on. Peter was determined to walk, and he did. He stepped out, and he was walking on the water. He was walking on the water, and all of a sudden, he took his eyes off of Jesus, and he looked at the waves because they're starting to crash, and there's wind and everything. And as soon as he took his eyes off of Jesus, he started to sink. And Jesus went, shouldn't have done that, and reached down and pulled him up. But Peter was determined. Even though he was human, even though he's making mistakes, he was determined. School I'm teaching in now is a Christian school. When I first started teaching there 6 years ago, I just retired from public school, 30 years public school. And I came in and they said, hey, we need somebody to coach our middle school baseball program. And the only time I'd ever worked with middle school kids was when my older son played travel baseball. So I said, all right, I'll do it. He said, we need to build the program up. I said, okay, when does it start? Now, this was a Friday I was being taught. So when does it start? Tryouts are Monday. All right, bring them on. So I get there, and there were 16 boys trying. I didn't even have a chance to make an announcement, hey, who wants to come out or anything. I didn't make, so I had 16 boys come out. I picked 12, had to cut 4. And I don't like cutting kids. I don't know if you have ever had to do that from, sports or, anything. You have to cut someone. It's hard. It hurts. That's the most difficult thing, is to say, I don't want you. At least that's what they think. It's not that I don't want them. It's they're not ready. And so I have to go through that. There was one little boy. His name was Caleb. One kid, he was 5th grade, because we had 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's our middle school, and 5th graders can play. Caleb came out, and Caleb is, he's terrible. He can't hit the side of the barn. He can't swing his way out of a paper bag, to use all the cliches. He was terrible, and he got cut. 6th grade year tryouts. I went from 16 to 25 kids trying out the next year. So we got more coming out. Caleb shows up. He wasn't any better. In fact, I think he was worse. So he got cut. The next year, I had 47 kids try out the third year I was there. Caleb shows up as a 7th grader. I had enough to create 2 teams, an A and a B team, 12 on each team. Caleb got cut, and he was still bad. And I'm like, did you not get the message? You're not a good baseball player. I love the kid, but he just wasn't good. So when the 8th grade rolls around, the 4th year I was there, I'm there, and it's not just me, and I have a very extensive little tryout sheet. I mean, you can earn points, up to 80 points. It's very detailed. It's tough. I analyze everything. I had 3 other guys there, my assistant coach, and I had 2 other coaches, one of them on the high school team, to come down and help me, and another one that didn't even go to that school, from another school I had invited to come, to help me judge them. Caleb walks up. I'm like, young man, no, that's what I wanted to tell him, but he walked up. And I flipped over to my blank sheet. I had always have a blank sheet at the end. And the first name I put was Caleb's name. I was not going to cut him. I don't care how bad he was. That kid was going to prove me wrong no matter what. He was not going to let me define him in any way. So I put him on my team. And Caleb became not a good baseball player that year, but a great teammate. Great teammate. He did things that just motivated my team, his team. He became the leader of all. And I would have not had that if he wasn't that determined and to prove me wrong. And he ended up halfway through the year, because I let him bat periodically, and he struck out every time. He was 0 for 9, and every time he struck out, and he was getting frustrated. I knew he was. But he just had a terrible swing, and I couldn't fix it. It was so ingrained badly in him, it was hard to correct. But I was like, I'm not giving up on him, because he never gave up on himself. But he was starting to get frustrated, and he decided to quit. 3/4 of the way, we had like 5 games left. He decided to quit, and he told some of his teammates, and one of them came to me and said, Caleb's quitting. I said, oh, he better not. He took his eyes off Jesus. He took his eyes off his prize of being there, and he started to sink. I pulled him in. I brought him in my classroom before school. I said, Caleb, you defied everything there is about baseball. I cut you 3 years in a row, and you were not going to let me beat you, because you showed up. And I pulled out that blank sheet of paper that had a whole team's name on it afterwards, because I filled it in. I said, look what name is number 1, yours. And you're now telling me you're going to quit? You're going to let these waves sink you? You're going to let that wind knock you over? No. Reach up, grab Jesus' hand, and let's go. And he went, okay. And he walked out. And as soon as he walked out, at least 5, it might have been more, but I know there were 5 boys on our team that just hounded him and said, you can't quit. You have to stay. You have to be here. And he did. We had a game that day. We were losing, had runners on second, third. We were down by 1. And yes, the hero came through. He hit a double in right center field to score the 2 to win the ball game. That's the romance of the game of baseball. But that's what determination does. It doesn't let you quit. And that did for him. I got to go fast. I'm sorry. The last one is get your sign. There's a picture. I've already talked a little bit about 20. This is a picture of one of the young men I coached. I started counting up one time. I coached over 600 boys, and it might be more. I lost count about 10 years ago. I'll say 600 plus. And I've had 3 that played Major League. This is one of them. He also won a gold medal for Team USA in the Olympics. And what's neat about this is a couple of years ago, my last year, the year that Caleb was with me, I was coaching my team, and he volunteered to coach the little middle school team that his daughters go to. And so we got to coach against each other. And it was really neat watching him get drafted, play college ball, get drafted number 12 and make it in the major leagues, and watch him on TV, watch him play. It's really neat. You can go ahead and flick off on that one. So I coached 3 kids that played Major League Baseball. I think it's 18. If I didn't miss anybody that played some level of professional ball in the minor league, we've got one that I got to work with this year on the high school level that likely could get drafted. So I've had that. I've had some kids, and then got the Olympics. I got several of them that now coach college ball or have coached college ball or high school ball going on. And that's a neat thing, cool thing to sit there and tell people, yeah, I coached high school kids that went on to play college. But you know what? I thought about this for a lot of years. And I heard a college coach make this statement, so I've taken it as my own. Says that when I die and I go to heaven, I do not want God to look at me and say, Steve, I sent you over 600 boys and you turned them into baseball players. What I want him to say is, Steve, I sent you over 600 boys and you turned them into men of God. And I can't say I've done that to all of them, but I sure have tried. I sure have tried. I could have been fired in high school, coaching high school ball at public school, because you're not supposed to pray. You hear that on the news. Every game, every practice, my team prayed. We had a prayer. Still do. I'm at a private Christian school, so it's easy now. But still do. I am concerned. And you know what? I've got so many young men I've coached that are ministers, missionaries. I've got 2 twin brothers that work with Fellowship Christian Athletes. Now they're working in the corporate office with them. Wesley Foundation, youth ministers. That's what I like to see more than the pro stuff. So know your sign. All right, Mark, I'm going to give you a sign. You ready? See if you know what this one is. Okay, now you got to know that this is an important sign. You know what it was? It's what? No. It's a squeeze bunt because Jimmy's coming from third base trying to score, and you got to get the bunt down. Jimmy, you got to be running hard as soon as the pitcher goes. You got to know the sign, right? So if you don't know the signs, you're lost. And as a baseball coach, I do not want the other team to know my signs. So I change them up. Like I could do this sign right here. That might be hit and run. I can change it up to a point where I can do the exact same, and now it might be sack bunt. I can do another one and still the exact same motion, and it could be a take, don't swing. It all depends on a bunch of variables, but I don't want the other team to know. I love trying to figure out the other team's coach's signals. I love doing that. You can do that. You can't video like some professional teams have kind of been known to probably do. Or bang on trash cans. But you can try to figure it out. It's fun to do that. It's fun to try to figure that out. But signs are just for your team. And if my guys can't figure it out, if I do something and they think they're supposed to steal and I gave them no steal, bad things can happen. But here's the difference when you get your sign. When you get your sign from God, see, God's signs aren't secretive. They're not just for us. They're for everybody. And you know what? This Bible right here is your sign, is your signs. It's God's word, and it's for everybody. And just as it says in Matthew, it says, go baptizing all, go to all nations, to the end of the age, go everywhere. So our signs aren't hidden. Our signs aren't just for you, but they're for everybody. And that's what we got to think of. So when you get your sign, go. Today is Sign Up Sunday, as you know, it was announced, as Diana said. We have so many opportunities in this church that needs you. And you may think, well, I don't know what my talent is. I don't know what my gift is. You know, I didn't know my gift, what it was. But over the years, coaching and teaching, I kept asking God, what am I supposed to be doing? I think he kept telling me, you're doing it. Keep doing what you're doing. But I kept asking, what I'm supposed to do, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But yeah, I kept coaching, kept teaching. And I think I know what my gift is. I know my talent is doing that. Am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. But that's my signs that God has given to me. And this right here is God's sign to us all. Okay? So that's what's important. So a little wrap up here. Thanks for putting up with me this morning. Think about what you have done in your life. Think about what you have ahead of your life. Think about what you're doing right now and think, am I doing something that if I died today and God said, I gave you, in my case, over 600 boys, I gave you, what answer do you want him to, how do you want him to complete that sentence to you? Mine needs to be, I gave you over 600 boys, and you tried to turn them into men of God. Maybe a woman of God with Stephanie. She became my third best hitter on the team, by the way, that year. She had the best team, yeah. Loved her to death. Anyway, so thank you. I'm going to pray, and then Diana, you're going to come back up, and Diana's going to come up, and we're not going to have a song to end because we got a lot, and I'm close. Let me pray. Everybody bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you that we can come together, you know, and talk about the silly game of baseball, but use this as a catalyst, as a tool to really show your love and your grace and your mercy towards us. And help us know what our sign is. Help us listen to you and hear your sign and hear your voice so we can go out into all the world and preach the gospel. Because we are your disciples. It's not just those that Jesus talked to. Now we are, because it keeps growing. So, thank you. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for caring for us. In your name we pray. Amen.